Okay. The trip to Finland, where all this happened, was in 1981. And while we were there was a Kenyan pastor who was there. And he invited us to come to Kenya to train his pastors that were in Kenya and in Uganda. And I said, okay, we'll come next year. When we got home from Finland, shortly thereafter, we received a letter from Kenya from a bishop who had read one of our books. And he said, I want you to come and train our pastors from Uganda and from Kenya. Well, I told him there will be a time when we'll come. He said, April. Well, we had a few ministry engagements in April. Some of them were our own that we had set up, and some of them were in churches. And we looked at one another and we said, well, the Lord wants us to go to Africa, and that's where he's called you. And I'm part of you now, so I'm going too. So we made plans with the pastors that we had engaged and asked them to release us because we wanted to make a trip to Africa. And we canceled our own programs. Pastor said we'll reschedule, and we went in April of 1982. Worked with both of these people. It was no easy experience. Neither one of us had been away from the United States other than into Canada once. So in some ways we were taken advantage of. To me, it was a great big cultural shock because the people lived differently. They talked differently. They used words that had different meanings than what we would expect and the way that we used them. And so we had some difficulties. Plus the fact that all the women wore blouses and skirts or dresses. The only women who wore slacks were prostitutes. Women did not wear jewelry. That was a no-no. Well, we tried to pick up everything that we could learn, but as I said, it was a big cultural shock. I went with several checks to cash, $1,000 each. Couldn't get them cashed. Sent Mary on to the conference that was scheduled for us, which was couple hundred miles away. And I stayed back in Nairobi trying to get them cashed. Eventually I did. And the wife of the fellow who we met in Portugal put me on a matatu with her, and we traveled all day. Here was a white man traveling with a Kenyan woman, not his wife. I had all types of people raising their eyebrows and questions. Well, I didn't know all of this at the time, okay? I didn't know that was taboo also, but that's the way it was set up by the pastor. That's the way I went. And we got there, had a wonderful time. I was concerned about Mary wearing her wedding ring, and some earrings and things. But it was a non-issue with her because of the anointing on her life and the anointing as a teacher on her life. This was a non-issue. Never was questioned because they knew the richness of what they were getting through the scriptures, and they were delighted. Well, we had a good time with them. We had all types of opportunities. We were out in the field with people who wore skins as clothes. We could see in the distance a lady working in her cornfield without a blouse on. They beat the drums to bring the people in. We had an experience. There was another couple with us. And we shared times together, and then we would share testimonies and songs, and one person would speak, and we would change around as we went from place to place. And on this little mountain, must have had 45, 50 people that came. And some were wrapped in blankets, some had hats on, and this lady that was in the field put her skin on the top as well and came. And at the end of the message, an invitation was given to receive Jesus. There was about 12 of them that stood up and went with the pastor who was speaking, just under the tree. And he led them into salvation. And then they gave a testimony. I remember the man who had the hat. And we had spoken some healing words over them. Not really laid hands on them, but spoke healing. And the Lord confirmed that in this man's life. And because of that, he gave his life to the Lord. Well, we had all types of different experiences like this, and we were growing and learning as we went along. And so, well, they wanted us to come back. That was April. We went back in October, same year, and had some more seminars, took some people with us. And that's how it evolved that we went to Kenya. We just felt that's where the Lord wanted us. Now, we did go to Uganda. We even started a Bible training center in Uganda and had it open for several years. But our main one was in Western Kenya. And people came from all over the globe, actually, from as far away as Australia to the UK to Canada, okay? And we had 11 countries represented over the period of time that we were there, and 144 denominations, including Catholic. So we had an opportunity of ministering. And we just felt that's where God wanted us to put down our roots. So we kept going back and going back and going back. And from 81 to 86, when we moved there, I had been there 15 times. Was it easy? Not particularly. Not particularly. Because they made assumptions. Well, we invited you to come for this conference at this time to speak to these pastors, and you're on the venue. They didn't ask you. They told you. We've already printed them. That's the way they tried to manipulate you. And I learned early on, I'm sorry, I won't be there. I'm sorry, you didn't ask me. I didn't pray about it. I won't be there. All of these experiences helped us to grow. Every time we went, we grew. The first 5 trips that I had there, I had a cultural shock every time I landed. I was not comfortable, but I knew I was supposed to be there. So we started going. We wanted to do a school, the Bible Training Center, and very interesting. We were traveling looking for land, and the Lord spoke to Mary and he said, "The land's under the rainbow." And we saw a rainbow from one end to the other end. Then we said something, "Stop," and spoke to the fellow who was leading us. And he said, "Well, I know where to go. I know where there's a farmer there who wants to give some land to a Bible school." So we went there. He'd already given it away. He said, "Well, I know another place where we can go." Now, he was being led by the Lord too. And so we went to another place. And I got out and it was drizzling. And I said, "Okay, we can put our house up there. We can do this, we can do that, and we can build here." And Lord was just helping me map it out. About 15 acres. And the man that was leading us said, "I know where the man lives who has this land." I said, "Fine, find out if he will sell it and how much he wants." This man walked into the business of the man who was the owner. And the man said, "You have come with white people to buy my land." God was always one step or two steps ahead of us in this. Well, of course, all of these are confirmations. You're doing what I want you to do. So you say, how do we get to Kenya? Well, when God confirms what he's telling you to do and you do it, you know he's in it and you're not on your own. So the Lord had to work on him to get him to sell us this land. He did it in spite of his family who didn't want him to sell the land, because land is very precious. And we bought 15 acres at that time. So we started and we progressed. That's how we got to Kenya. That's how we really stayed there.